The reason most people don't succeed is either the meaning of their past or not asking for help.
Welcome to another episode of the Matthews Mentality Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Matthews, and today we're joined by an extraordinary leader in business and personal growth, David Meltzer. David is the chairman of the Napoleon Hill Institute and the former CEO of Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, the agency that inspired Jerry Maguire. I love that movie. My dad was in that movie. They filmed a scene and he got cut. It didn't make the finals.
Oh.
He's still bitter about it.
That's so good.
He didn't know that, Zach, did he?
Troy Aikman made it. So
Well, the quarterback's always made it. Come on, like we know that. But a globally recognized entrepreneur, investor, author, and business coach, he has been honored as Variety's Sports Humanitarian of the Year and awarded the prestigious Ellis Island Medal of Honor. As executive producer of 2 Minute Drill, Office Hours, and Elevator Pitch, David has been featured in books, movies, and TV, including Think and Grow Rich and Netflix Beyond the Secret. David is on a mission to empower over 1 billion to be happy by providing one thing, value. Today, we'll find out exactly how he's doing it. David, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome, man. I tell your dad this, though. I just licensed First and 10 from HBO, and I think he was in a cameo for HBO with OJ from First and 10. And that's the alumni.
I went in Southern California and do a little office tour, and David was kind enough to make some time. So I'm gonna go up and see my folks Thursday night, be a good son, spend the night at my parents' house, and I'll bring it to him. But speaking of my dad, and he played for the Browns. You grew up in Akron. Were you a Browns fan?
Huge Brown fan. My dad left when I was 5, and that's when I held on to a football and didn't let it go. I walked around with it, told everybody I was going to be the next Jim Brown.
Sure.
And huge Browns fan. And then my mom moved me out to San Diego when I was 9. So I became a Chargers fan as well.
Yeah.
It was easy to like them both because, it was never a competition. Only 1 year in the history were we ever both competing to make it farther. Usually it's the other side of the rankings.
And football's been a big part of your life, right?
Huge part. It still is. And a lot of people love Jerry Maguire, and I'll ask, is that your favorite sports film? And a lot of people say, yeah, it is. And I'll say it's not a sports film, it's a love story in the backdrop of sports. And it was ironic, but also coincidental that I ran the most notable sports agency that they made the movie about, because that's how sports has always been in my life. When I realized that it wasn't going to be the forefront, the main show, which happened in college. I got ran over by Christian Okoye my freshman year, and I laid on my back and quoted my mom, doctor, lawyer, or failure, no more NFL. And so I believe that sports, especially today in business, is a wonderful backdrop to anything you do if you love sports.
Do you yourself do you recommend to business leaders to look for people who have a background in athletics?
Absolutely. I think all the statistics tell you to do so as well, especially with women. Most people don't know that over 90% of C-level executives in the corporate world that are women have played college sports.
I do not.
It's the most common denominator of all C-level executives that are women. I don't know what the statistics are for men because so many men claim that they played sports. But they're
probably C-level because they didn't play sports.
Right.
They actually focused in school. They learned.
Or they sat on the bench like me. I used to joke around. I played tailback when I got off the bench. The coach is like, "Get your tail back. It's way too slow and small."
Why do you think that on the female side, this man is fascinating? I've never heard that 90%. What is it about? We love to talk about mindsets and mentalities here. Like, is there a mindset or mentality? Is that something that they're already like that? Or do you think sports instills a certain type of mindset?
I always think there's a combination. Genetic and energetic inheritance is the way that I explain it to people. So you can have a genetic inheritance to be whatever it is that you can be. And the energetic inheritance not only comes from 4 generations before you, but also is your environment, the teams that you play for, in other words, where you went to school, where and who you surround yourself with according to topic, subject matters, and expertise. And so if you think about the qualities and characteristics, the culture that's necessary to be a C-level executive, sports is the perfect breeding ground for leaders, for people who have confidence and don't care what other people say. They don't want what other people want. There's nobody that has ever been considered extraordinary that was ordinary. It's within the definition of the words. And so the reason I believe energetically and genetically, certain people have inherited these qualities to be billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, and entertainers. I believe the one common denominator that sports also contributes is a desire that you must be what you can be. That to me is the number one quality that I look for because I can't teach it. And I know one thing, every successful person like you and I and other people we know, they fail, make tons of mistakes. I made more than most people, but I don't care about mistakes. That never stops you from getting to where you want to be or better. What stops you? Lack of commitment. And so that's why those women and men who play sports end up going further because they don't lack commitment.
And because they've experienced commitment at a very high level, not just a commitment of time, but a commitment of energy, commitment of emotion.
Yeah, fear, right.
You talk about a genetic inheritance, I got a little bit. No.
You got enough for me, buddy. I'm jealous.
I didn't get all of it, but an energetic inheritance. I don't think I've ever heard that. If I have an energetic inheritance, I probably got it from, you talked about teams or experience like Pete Carroll at USC.
Yeah.
I talked briefly. If there's someone who can give you an energetic inheritance, that's the guy.
And that's a perfect example. I know Pete as well because Warren Moon, my business partner, was involved with the Seahawks when Pete was there doing the games as well. And the minute I met him, being a clear session, someone that deals people, I realized that he is a force. And in the philosophy of energetic inheritance, we have to realize in our inheritance, this is where faith to me comes in, is that I believe that there's something bigger than me that has unlimited information, which we call omniscient, and unlimited energy, all power. And it's something bigger than me that has all information and all power. And it loves me, protects me, promotes me, and perfects me more than my mom. And so this faith is also included in my understanding of energetic inheritance because in essence, we've all inherited from God or whatever you want to define that something bigger than you that loves you more than your mom. We've inherited that as well. And so what are you doing to interfere with an all-powerful God, an all-powerful source to make you an all-powerful resource to other people as well, to make them all-powerful as well?
And when you speak of this energetic inheritance, was this something you always either had or were aware of? Like, were you an energetic, passionate human from the jump, or was this maybe something you evolved into, or some switch went off?
Great point. So yes, I was born with the energy gene, the happiness gene, the optimist gene. I was born with that. But as they say in football, and you may have heard this as well, with a law school, close friends, we have a show with Mike Tannenbaum from ESPN, the former GM of the Jets. And we always talked about quarterbacks and that it was their skills and their knowledge that was the basement of a quarterback. But you could never determine the desire or the delta, that energetic inheritance that they had, the desire that they must be what they can be. So we represented Ryan Leaf, Jeff George. You remember these two quarterbacks. Sure. They did not live up to what people thought their potential was in their football career. Their basements, Lee would tell you, Warren would tell you, were higher than Warren Moon, Steve Young, Troy Aikman, who obviously reached the highest level.
Yeah, my dad played with Jeff George. They had incredible arms, like they could make any throw.
And yet the basements were higher, but if the delta isn't there, it doesn't matter. Where, take me, for example, my basement was so low that my delta, even though it may have been better than Ryan Leaf's, wasn't even close to his basement. And so why do I say that? Because when we can align our skills, our knowledge, and our desire with an industry career or job that allows us to show what's doing well, what's stable, what we think is doing well, we have as big as an advantage that LeBron James did in basketball, right? His skills, knowledge, and desire was aligned with the industry career and job that he took. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't look at the basement and they think that it's just the delta in this lifetime, this human experience, that's going to get them to be the best in the world at something. I believe because of energetic and genetic inheritance, that will only determine how big your delta is. If you're not logical about applying, aligning, creating synergy between your skills, knowledge, and desire in the jobs, careers, and industries that are doing well, that are stable, and you think are going to do well, you're really missing out in this lifetime. It may be inherited for the next one, and you might have a better shot at being an NBA star, but I had no shot at being an NBA star.
Yeah, me neither. And I will get back to the you were touching on the advice for, let's call it, professionals on how to achieve great success in whatever field they've chosen. But why don't you walk the audience through just your background? You played football accidentally, and then just give us a snapshot of your professional career and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Well, I think even along those lines, I grew up poor in Akron, Ohio, single mom, 6 kids. I wanted to rich. That was it. My mission was commissions. And the reason was, the only time I was sad as a kid was when my mom couldn't fix something, couldn't pay for something, or didn't have enough money for something. And I'd catch her crying. And nobody had to work at that like my mom. I inherited that, which is how to create great success. So I thought I was going to do it in football. Told you my freshman year, got ran over by the Nigerian Nightmare. Decided I'd go to medical school, realized they have to be in hospitals. I purposely, intentionally went to Tulane University Law School because they have the best oil and gas program, and oil and gas litigators made the most money out of law school. So I was completely commission-based.
And you had assigned, because of the pain you experienced seeing your mom suffering because of the lack of money, you said, if I have money,
everybody will be happy.
Everybody will be happy. There'll be no more pain.
No more pain at all.
Okay.
And I believe that, to the point where I tell people, money will buy you love or happiness. It'll buy you everything you need. And I believe that as a young man. When I graduated law school, I had 2 job offers. 1992, before we were born. 92, I got an offer to be an oil and gas litigator, $150,000 salary plus bonus for an oil and gas company out of law school. That was unheard of in 92. I also got a job offer for a sales job with a $250,000 comp plan at West Publishing, the world's biggest legal publisher, to sell their books on the internet in 1992.
Wow.
My mom told me
before its time, right?
Yeah, before its time. And everyone told me not to. Justice Scalia told me, the Supreme Court Justice, nobody would ever do research on the computer. You needed books. This is the closed-mindedness. So when you hear people talk about AI and or blockchain, think about Justice Scalia, how little he thought of the internet. These people are wrong. I took the sales job despite everyone saying I was a moron. 9 months out of law school, made $1 million. 3 years later, we sold in 1995, 3.4 billion with a B in 95. I then understood venture capital, went to Silicon Valley, raised hundreds of millions of dollars in middleware, transporting the internet onto WAP phones. Then in 1999, I became CEO of Samsung's data division for their first data device, which was called the PCE phone. It's a Windows device, not Apple, 99. And I was married to my dream girl. I had every single thing I ever wanted.
You were making a lot of money. I was going to ask, like, how were you feeling at the time? Was it providing you the satisfaction you were looking for?
For a little while. And then I started buying shit I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. And slowly but surely, I started hating myself. And I started to live below the line, as my mom used to call it, in blame, shame, and justification. I tried to numb my emptiness with drugs and alcohol, surrounding myself with morons, mostly from childhood, going and doing moronic things with moronic people at moronic places. And while I was running Lee Steinberg Sports Entertainment, and the reason I got hired to take Jeff Morad's job. So Jeff Morad, legend, billionaire, owner of the Padres, F1 guy now. Jeff Morad, the reason I got that job wasn't because I was a great lawyer, wasn't because I was a great sports agent. Lee was such a visionary. He said the future of sports is in venture capital and technology. And Dave Meltzer, out of everyone I know in sports, has the most experience in venture capital and technology, which is aligned with the original question of skills, knowledge, and desire, aligning with jobs, careers, and industry with sports as a backdrop, which is what Lee taught me, which is what Jerry Maguire represents to most people, including me. I ended up doing that. Now, the worst part about running Lee Steinberg was not only did I have all this money, I now had access to what billionaires couldn't afford. And you've been there. Yeah. Backstage, sidelines, all the things that you got to do as a kid and probably still get to do with your dad sometimes. It's a lot. And I almost lost my life, almost lost my wife, but I did lose everything financially. I lost over $100 million and went bankrupt. And that to me was the greatest lesson of, instead of being punished, which I thought of when it happened, there was no evidence. In fact, all the evidence in my life was pointing towards the fact that I was punished and I wasn't going to ever get to where I wanted to be or better. And it actually was the opposite. I actually got faith. And through my wife and my mom, that faith led me to believe that I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. I just had to figure out what I was doing to interfere with it. And faith has led me over 18 years with the work ethic I have, the desire I must be what I can be, to not be on commission, but instead a mission. And the commissions have followed exponentially in my life, because my mission is to empower over 1 billion people, teach them how to make a lot of money so they can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun doing it.
Why do you think, we've spoken a lot on previous episodes, a big thing for me, and in what role I can influence the people at my company is just like, don't be a victim. Like, you could be victimized, which is something bad happens to you that very well may, from a neutral observer, say, well, that's not your fault, but like, that's being victimized. But to be a victim is kind of a mental state that you choose to stay in. So many people probably, well, literally have lost a lot less than $100 million. But so many people who may have experienced loss, they go down into the valley of despair, but they never come out and they never stay a victim. What do you think it is about your mentality that allowed you to kind of pull yourself out? You gave credit to your wife, right?
And my mom.
And your mom.
So what they really helped me do is understand that your past has only one thing: meaning. And you have a power to give meaning to your past. And if you're not giving a meaning to the mistakes, setbacks, failures, the defining moments, historical relevances of your life, if you're not giving a meaning that's aligned with where you want to be or better, what I call my divine direction, then every detour that happens in the future will be punishment. If you give a meaning to your past aligned with your divine direction, then the detours are also going to be divine, meaning they're going to be signs of light, love, and lessons, promotion, protection, love, and perfection. Every time you sit there and say, what did I do to be responsible? What did I do to attract this? What am I doing to participate in the meaning? And what am I supposed to learn from it? You see, the only limitation, and please tell all your employees this, the only limitation of any of your employees and you is the meaning you give your past. You will be defined and limited by the meaning you give your past, because one thing is impacted by the meaning of your past: your self-image and your imagination. You will never overachieve your own self-image or your imagination. And if you limit your self-image, if you limit your imagination because you're giving a punishment, a victim mentality, meaning to your past, you're never going to get to where you want to be or better. And so, yes, I spent a couple days as a victim. Told my mom, I went to her door and said, I'm bankrupt. I lost your house, Mom. She smirked at me. I said, Mom, I don't think you heard me. I lost your home. She said, I heard you. Do you need anything? I'm here to help. Do you need some money? I said, Mom, you didn't hear me. And I started to cry. And she said, why are you crying? I said, I lost your house. All I wanted to do was buy you a house and a car. I did everything I could for you, Mom. There is no God. Why would he punish me like this? And my mom smirked again and said, oh, sweetheart, you believe in God. You just believe in the wrong God. And it sent me home thinking about what meaning was I going to give this bankruptcy. Was I going to give it 4th down and 2 meaning, or was I going to give it game over meaning? And for me, it was just 4th down and 2. And so I looked up, I got up, I created non-negotiable behaviors, and I did my best, learning lessons and had fun making it back.
Talk to us about some of those lessons that you think the audience could learn from as well.
So I think the number one lesson that I learned was time. And when I say that, in order to have wisdom and faith that shorten that distance of resistance that so many people create in their lives to be victim, not just victimized, I broke down and studied time, and I said to myself, okay, I got to figure out circumstances, because the circumstances have screwed me up. How do I take circumstances out of the equation, because they're so uncertain? The only thing I found in life in the future that's certain is 24 hours. I believe the only thing that you can guarantee tomorrow is 24 hours a day. Tomorrow and the next day, and the last day you'll be cheated. But God's guarantee to me is I'll give you 24 hours every day of your life except the last day. So what does that mean? All other certainty is within me, the meaning that I have. So when I realize that a third of my life is spent sleeping, and the fastest way to get to where I want to be is find someone that's an expert at it to give me directions, I went and got a sleep coach 18 years ago. And I said, I'm going in the Hall of Fame to my wife. And she looked at me like, Hall of Fame? I'm like, no, sleep. I'm going to be the best sleeper in the world. I'm going to recover and access information better than anyone. I hired this lady. She's actually the MLB and NFL sleep coach, Dr. Meeta Singh. And I've had her coach me on how to recover and access information better than anyone. So now, a third of my life, I'm performing better than anyone. And guess what? That performance makes the rest of the 16 hours a day, I'm a better performer as well.
I need to get this sleep coach.
Yes. Then what I did is
I need to get my 3-year-old that sleep coach.
Yeah, even more important, because that'll help you with your sleep.
Yeah.
So, but think about this. No matter what the circumstances are, the weather, the interest rates, delays at an airplane, whatever it is, I'm getting 8 hours of information and access to another 4 hours of the wait time for non-negotiable behavior, minimum of time on my health, minimum of time with my family, 7 days a week. No circumstance will get me off of it. 7 every day studying faith, finance, studying relativity, studying time. So now, half of my day, most of it sleeping, is non-negotiable. I don't care what the weather, the interest rates, or what Donald Trump says. It doesn't affect 90% of my outcomes, and they're exponential because 2 minutes a day of intentional behavior is worth 2 hours on a Saturday. And I'll tell your kids this right now. You study Spanish 15 minutes a day, every day, you're guaranteed a day. You study 15 hours on Sunday before the test, you're not guaranteed a day. And we know this in sports. Why we practice the way we do. Look at Tiger Woods and all the greatest athletes. They are consistent and intentional. Now the fun comes in. I have 12 hours of the day of negotiable behavior. Now, the better I prioritize in my divine direction, the better I'll be. But the circumstances are now lessened because I know my maximum performance is created by the non-negotiable behavior. So the number one piece of advice, that's a complex system, is ask for help with whatever you think should be non-negotiable in your life. Find an expert to give you directions of where you want to be, and then help other people get to where you want to be as your expertise increases.
Some of this you probably just touched on, but one of the questions I like to ask is, what do you see as the most common reasons, the most common characteristics, traits, or even behaviors in men and women that you've had the opportunity to work with or coach or just be around that have done very well in their lives? And then I'm going to ask the question the opposite. What is the biggest reason or two they don't?
Yeah. So number one reason is the desire that they must be what they can be. That is a common denominator. If somebody wakes up every morning with the desire that they must be what they can be, whatever it is, artists, music, sports, real estate, they're guaranteed to be successful because they're not going to lack commitment, and they'll get it at the highest level. The reason most people don't succeed is either the meaning of their past or not asking for help. Your life will change if you work on your desire and you work on asking for help and the meaning of the past.
Yeah.
They just give the wrong meaning. I've met people. I was in France. I spoke at the World Football Summit, the other football.
Yeah,
and yeah, well, nowadays you don't know with the NFL Europe, but more importantly, this lady came up to me and she's like, "Oh, I listened to you. I read your book, Connected to Goodness, but what about the French-American War?" And I'm thinking to myself, you're going to give a historical relevance, an interference, and a meaning that's going to stop you from connecting from your higher source because of what happened in the French-American War. People do this all the time. So looking at the meaning of the past and the lack of commitment, those are the two things. Another way to put it from Napoleon Hill in Outwitting the Devil, which if you haven't read, I highly suggest, even beyond Think and Grow Rich, it's you need definite purpose and control of emotional impulse, your impulse, your response. And if you work on having a definite purpose to what you do every day, your purpose is greater than your pain, you'll never quit. And then two, if you can control your compulsive response, spending minutes and moments in the wrong direction instead of days, weeks, months, and years, you will exceed your own expectations of where you want to be or better.
And You had touched on, it sounds like your definite purpose today is about bringing value, right? When did that kind of come into play in your life? When did you say, again, these are my words, this is what I was put on this earth to do?
It happened, I just got back on my feet. I bought a beach house in San Diego. I just told my wife, whatever I can do for you, let me know. Thank you so much for saving my life and setting me in the right direction. Whatever it is I can do for you, let me know. And my 12-year-old came in at the time crying. I said, what's the matter? Her best friend, a 12-year-old, committed suicide.
Oh my goodness.
And I couldn't understand it. I understand you've been around sports, CTE, drug addicts, PTSD.
12 years, very young.
Very young.
Yeah.
To be that sad. And so I went for a walk, and I used to make fun of people that tell me, God came to them. I was just that guy. And I had that moment that this was why I'm here, to teach people to live in abundance, to make a lot of money, to help a lot of people and have fun with their lives, regardless of the past. And for me, I've never met anyone that makes a lot of money, helps a lot of people, and has a lot of fun that even remotely is sad.
Yeah.
And so that was my course of action in taking that and evolving it into values, practices, execution model, and even the right incentives in order to effectuate people to accelerate, aggregate, compound the outcomes that they have in their life exponentially has been a great joy. And I'm getting better at it and better at it. And people ask me, how are you going to empower over 1 billion people? I'm going to find 1,000 people like you, Kyle, and you're going to empower 1,000 through your show, who will empower 1,000, thousands of million times thousands of billion. I can change the world. And I don't say that out of arrogance. I say it out of humility, that I can change the world by doing good and doing well at the same time and empowering other people to do the same.
And is that how you do it? You kind of break it down? Was it 4 or 5 steps?
Yeah, exactly. And then, another thing that came about, and this is more recently, value, people ask me, what do you mean provide value? And I come from a sales background, business background, finance background.
Mm-hmm.
I simplified it. And I really believe everything I do is easier now because I understand value. There's only 2 ways that you can provide value. You either give people more of what they like, what's working, or what they know, or take away what they don't like, what's not working, or what they don't know. So I always, in my mind, meet people and categorize, hey, this guy doesn't like this. How can I take it away? Oh, this person likes this. How can I get more of that? It's working. It's not working. They know it. They don't know it. And help me, keep me at ease when I can very clearly have an opportunity to learn about those 2 things about you and then say, hey, would it help you if? Would it help you if? And then also in the context of asking, do you know anyone that can help me? And I'm probably the most repetitive, consistent, disciplined person in asking those 2 types of questions all day long. Would it help you if? Would it help you if? Or do you know anyone that can help me?
That's great. Yeah. There were, in real estate, like part of the do you know anyone that can help me would be the referral. But within our training program, Matthews University, one of our lessons is what is your value? And it's teaching, even on day 1, you don't know much about real estate, you don't have any existing business, but we give them 5 very distinct points of here's your value day 1. And then, the biggest part is this, psychologically getting them to believe it. It's like,
and do the work.
And do the work, but like 6-12 months in, I bet it's unfortunate if I half the agents in the first year, like, hey, are you valuable to a client? Like, no, not really. Like, you're like, no, you are. Here's how. But it's just like you can't. I have the benefit of 20, 25 years of hindsight. They don't. And it's like it's knowing what is the value you bring to your client, and then the second part of that is just communicating the value of your
articulating the quantitative value.
Exactly, the value.
That takes practice.
It takes time.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, my expertise is articulating quantitative value to exceed what I'm asking for at all times. So I'm comfortable and confident because I practice so much articulating value. Even in my speaking career, people are like, how the hell do you get 6 figures for speaking? Because I practice articulating the value of my speech. Mm-hmm. So I understand what's working, what they like, and understand how I can, I did a charitable one. And I would have done it for free. You got to know your perceived value and bottom line, but perceived value is based off of your comfortability and your confidence in articulating quantitative value to see what you're asking for. So this charity asked me to speak. Me and Mike Tirico, they were choosing between, and they're like, how much are you? I'm like, $100,000. And they said, well, Tarico's only 75. How do you charge more than him? I said, well, if you're selling tickets to this event, hire Tarico, because that's the value he'll bring. He's a bigger name than David Meltzer. He's on ESPN. He does the Masters. I would hire him if you just want to sell tickets. They're like, no, this is always sold out. It's a charitable event, a well-known charity. Everybody comes. I said, so what's your purpose? You want to hire me to raise more money. How much did you raise last year? $1.2 million. I said, I will guarantee that I'll raise over $2 million, or don't pay me anything. So can you see a reason you wouldn't want to hire me for $100,000 when I'm going to increase over $1 million of revenue for you for an extra $25,000 than Mike will, if that's what, right? And it became a no-brainer. Now, they still only had a $75,000 budget. So I took that because my bottom line was zero because it was a charity. Yeah. So there's a reality to everything as well beyond the perception or perceived value of that quantity.
So today, what is a day in the life of David Meltzer? Like you talked about the breakdown.
Right. So we know the non-negotiables.
You're giving speeches. What else you do?
So I have tons of different shows, the digital shows, TV shows. I also license a couple movies. I do coaching in 3 different realms. The majority of what I do is free. So I have millions of people that I go online and I coach, Ask Me Anything's, IG Lives for free. I have a private networking group with thousands of people that's curated by billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, and entertainers. The criteria of curation is that you can only be in the group if you want to help people or know people that will help people. So you have to have the mindset, heart set, and hand set to be abundant. I have a wait list for my one-on-one coaching. So I have 100 clients, about 360 on the wait list. I work with executives like you. I only, whenever I charge someone, I work month to month and guarantee it. I have to be a profit center, not just subjective. I love Dave Meltzer. He makes me feel good, but we're making money together. Then I have corporate consulting clients as well, speeches, meetups, holding courts. I do VIP dinners combined in everywhere I go. We have studios at the Wynn, which I'm going to invite you to be on my show, in the lobby of the Wynn with SiriusXM. So you can find the playbook, my podcast on Sirius. SoFi Stadium is my office. So we have studios, offices, training center, very similar to Irvine Tower. And then I'm the chairman of the Napoleon Hill Institute in New York as well, which will be my legacy because Napoleon Hill is the seminal personal development leader of all time. Every person you and I have learned from Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, Bob Proctor, Dennis Waitley, Zig Zig, whoever you think you learned it from, that's the guy they learned it from. If you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, Outwitting the Devil, How to Sell Through Life, any of the content done in 1927 to 37, you're missing out because that's the OG right there. That's
And what does the future look like for you?
Well, for me, it's every day. And so keeping those non-negotiables, my future. Great sleep, great health, great family, great faith, great finance, great relativity and perception, and also the best use of time.
What last question for the audience? Like we always like to ask this: is there, in addition to you, is there a resource that you recommend for an audience, a listener, about where they could go to professionally, personally, mentally, emotionally, to go be the best version of themselves? I
hate to be biased, but Napoleon Hill Institute. Read Think and Grow Rich, read Outwitting the Devil, get the audio book, use it while you stretch or balance or whatever.
Anything Napoleon Hill.
Anything Napoleon Hill, because everyone else, all of their information that you read after that, you'll see
some iteration of him.
Right. It's like the Bible, right? Yeah. You see an iteration, whatever it is, and it's had the most impact. More entrepreneurs, especially that I've met, if you ask them what book had the most impact, they'll say, when I was 19, my dad made me read Think and Grow Rich, and it changed my life. The irony is that Outwitting the Devil was written in 1937. Because it was so advanced, they wouldn't publish it. The family and him would not publish it until 2011 after they all died, because they were afraid these ideas in the book that came out in 97 about smoking, about education, about church, which are well received today. They're not even questioned.
Too risque.
They were very risque.
Yeah, I was going to say, I read Think and Grow Rich. I was probably 25. I remember it being a very good book, but I had not known about Outwitting the Devil, so I'm sold off to download it and read it, listen to it. But David, I can't thank you for taking the time, and this has been really I look forward to hanging.
Yeah, we'd be invited, not obligated. I want to offer your whole community. So I have that book. This is my favorite one, Connected to Goodness with Warren Moon, who wrote the forward. So anyone in your community, I will mail the book, pay for shipping, pay for the book, sign it on my mission. I know that's the best framework to get
What's the
people
best way
started.
to connect with you?
David@dmeltzer.com. Email me directly. I'll send that book, david@dmeltzer.com.
This has been fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll do more. Thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate you.
Awesome.